What's going on, screen lookers? I got a few questions for you today. Are you above 7 feet tall? Have you completed at least one dribble move in your entire life? Did you have the wingspan of the average freeway overpass by the time you hit puberty? Were you born on planet Earth and currently have a pulse? Can you shoot threes? If you answer yes to any or all of these questions, then you might be Kevin Durant! Oh my God! Wow! Kevin Durant! We finally found another one! Oh my God! Durant. Holy fucking shit! Since the beginning of time, whenever the NBA draft comes around, we know that one thing is for certain going to happen. Guys are going to get pedaled up on the stage, your favorite team is going to draft someone, and then Jay Billis is going to sit up there and compare him to somebody, and Jalen Rose is going to compare him to somebody, and you at home are supposed to get all excited because now you have, Pascal Siakam on your team as a 19-year-old, the Bruno Caboclo, he's 2 years away from being 2 years away. Well, in 4 years, you're going to have Pascal Siakam. Just sit and wait and be patient because he's coming. Now, if you're smart, you're never going to take these at face value, and I'm sure that most of you don't, and we're all on the same page that, for the most part, they do these comps as I'm not going to be like it's fan behavior because it's not, but it is for the fans, right? At the end of the day, it means nothing, and it's actually super unproductive. And what this is all stemming from is the fact that Victor Wembanyama is the next Kevin Durant, right? That's what he's being deemed. When he comes into the league, we're supposed to be like, oh my God, now he's got this KD. If you are above, I know I already made this joke, if you're above 7 foot, have done a crossover, and have hit at least 10 threes in your life, and it's on tape, then scouts are going to call you Kevin Durant. But here's the thing, man. On so many levels, I just hate that we do this, and I think it's wrong. First of all, how many players do you talk to? It doesn't even have to just be in the NBA. It could be the NFL. It could be the damn NHL. It could be the MLB. These dudes don't like being compared to people. Who do you, it's different from where do you draw some of your game from? And guys are going to, and sometimes it's really clear where the influence is, but, there's just so much empirical evidence of dudes on podcasts being I don't like comparing myself to other people. It's weird. So to put labels on 19-year-olds that they're just destined to not live up to, we're not that far removed from people being is Zion Williamson the next LeBron James? Because he was super dominant for his age and threw down a few tomahawks and that was it. And as far back as I can think, who's the last person that people were this guy is the next Kevin Durant? And you're just setting them up for failure because it's an impossible standard. No one is like Kevin Durant. No one has ever been like Kevin Durant. And I can't sit here and be no one will ever be like him because the game grows and evolves in such a way, and medicine becomes the way that people train is it's going to ramp up. And, eventually, this is why I've always said, even though if I'm a guy who thinks that LeBron is the greatest player of all time, right, I would also hope that in 20 years when another guy comes along that I'll have the objectivity to call it when I see it. Right? But as of right now, it would be pretty damn hard to imagine that anybody like Kevin Durant is ever going to be in the NBA. I say that as somebody who, look, there's nothing that I can tell you about Victor Wembanyama that you already don't know, that you probably haven't heard people say 100 million times. I know you all saw the clips from the other night, him and Scoot Henderson. Okay, we know what we're getting when he comes into the NBA. So here's the thing. Whoever drafts him, congratulations. You can make plans for the next decade, for the next 15 years, that you are going to be watching one of the more dominant. Well, okay, see, but now I'm doing it. How do I gas him up like this? Ooh, I kind of got myself in a pickle here because I can't be it's like if Rudy Gobert and Kevin Durant had a baby, because then I become the antithesis of what my philosophy here is. Victor Wembanyama, I think is going to be a Spur, and it's going to piss me off, and then he's going to be really good. But here's the thing. If I had to think back, who's the last guy that we did this to? Was it Kristaps? Because I know for a fact that when Kristaps was in the draft, that people were is this guy Kevin Durant? Why? Because he was a 7-footer who could shoot the shit out of the basketball, and that in our chimp brains, we're just 2 + 2 = 4. He's big and can hit from 27. That reminds me of Kevin Durant. I don't know. But that's also not to say that the KD comps were a detriment to Kristaps, because there was an impossible precedent set with him right off the bat, I feel like. And I think Kristaps was here's a take that's coming to me in real time. I think he was about 2 years too early, because Kristaps Porzingis getting drafted in 2015, 2016, I think it was 2015. When he got drafted, it was right at the end of NBA fans being scared of drafting European players, right? We hadn't seen the complete influx, and now the game has grown in such a way. It's so diverse in terms of the heritage, the countries that people are actually from. But for the longest time, if you drafted a European player, your reaction was like, oh, I hope he's not Darko. And like now the people don't really do that anymore. And as a Pistons fan, I guess I'm glad. But you know what I mean? So when you threw that on top of Porzingis, and he was going into a market that was just as hostile as it was, we all remember the draft night reactions. We all remember Stephen A. Smith's reactions to it. It was going to be tough for him no matter what. I would then say the same about Victor Wembanyama, because he's going to come in here with a bar that has, like, I would say it's probably going to be in the same tier as Zion. I would argue it might be a little bit higher. This dude is so good. If he did not play for the rest of the year, right? If he was like, honestly, I'm chilling right now, he would still go number one and it would not be close. Because what you are getting, and it's not even, this is not like a Scoot Henderson slander video, because he's his own guy. He deserves his own video. It's not about him. It's an indictment on like how unmissable Victor Wembanyama is this year. I also just, the pre-draft process is like the easiest. It's the express lane to cold takes exposed. My favorite thing. If you go back and read KD scouting reports, they're like, man, can he defend? Everybody was obviously talking about, can he put on weight? People were worried that if he put on weight, he would lose foot speed. He put on a bit of weight, and he didn't lose his foot speed. He's still one of the fastest and deadliest players the game has literally ever seen. Another one, I don't remember if this was like even as simple as like NBA draft net, whatever the fuck. It might have even been them, but they were like, can he develop a killer instinct? We haven't really seen if like that's in there. Is that going to be a thing? So it's always just really funny to go back and read what people say when they're like, I don't know, man, I've been in this a long time and I've seen a lot of things, and like I know what these guys are. I know these tendencies, and then you're just wrong. And then you're just wrong. I was using my monitor as a light here, and then it died, and that's what the blue light was. It's jarring. It's alarming. It's synonyms when you see like Victor standing next to a guy like Rudy Gobert, who by the approximation, like we can get our Rudy Gobert jokes off, but like he's massive, right? Like he's physically just a huge dude. And when Victor is like looking down at him, like his release point on his shots is like the same height as like the top of the backboard. Like it's almost to the shot clock. Like that's how he gets up, and like KD's release point was already kind of, so like, oh my God, it's just an easy comparison. And that's why I get it, but I think it's unproductive at the end of the day. And I think it's wrong. We make these comparisons again because it makes it more palatable for a fan, right? Because, you know, when it comes to draft night and Jay Billis has got to get up there, he knows that, you know, what are the ratings for the draft? I don't know. There's 10 million people watching. Well, 5 million of these people don't watch college basketball, right? I'm throwing out an arbitrary number. 5 million of these people don't watch college basketball. So you need to put it into terms. You need to quantify it somehow, right? The Celtics, okay, you just drafted this guy. Well, he kind of reminds me of like Kyle Korver or Mike Miller or something like, I don't know, Karis LeVert, something like that, right? So that way you at home can be like, okay, I kind of have an idea. Like if he just goes out there and says like, oh, I don't know, he's a 3-point specialist, he's a really good off-ball cutter, really strong perimeter defender. Like that's gonna be, you're gonna be saying the same thing like every 5 guys. There's only so much, you know, verbiage and terminology that you can throw out there for individual guys. So ultimately, I totally get that it's easier just to put like a bop, he's Kevin Durant, and then just like move on. I totally get it. But again, then that fan goes to work the next day. He's at the water cooler with all his little friends. You guys watched the draft last night? Yeah, we got the next Kevin Durant. And then when he stinks, you know, that guy's going to work and saying, oh, remember when we got well, okay, but Victor's not going to stink. But he's not going to stink. It's the principle. It's the principle of the precedent that it sets. I think the tank for Victor is going to be more aggressive than it was for Zion. I think that like people are going to be fighting to get that 15th spot, right? Just the 0.5% chance that you could maybe get the number 1 pick. If it's the Thunder, if the Thunder get him, Victor Chet Shea, I couldn't stomach that. Like I would push for Adam Silver to relocate them and put Sam Presti in jail, maybe even prison. I would be sick. This is just a future prediction, just for like a note for posterity for those who command it. To the team who gets Victor Wembanyama next year, I'm going to go 45 wins. Book it.